Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
I hope you don't mind if I read from my notes, but it's not that I don't know my story, it's just that sometimes I go off at a tangent and you could be sitting listening to me for hours. So again, I don't have anything fancy, so I'll just start reading my story. My name is Betty Perrers and I have been managing the Edinburgh and South East of Scotland Tinnitus Support Group for 11 years, with the help of my husband Greg, who is the group's treasurer. I have been asked by Alan to tell you my tinnitus story. I took tinnitus in 1995 when I accidentally burst my eardrum with a pronged styling comb on my newly permed curls. On impact, I heard a loud bang, but as there was no bleeding from my ear and no pain, I assumed everything was okay. It wasn't until I got down to the shops that I realised that everything sounded so loud and slightly distorted. In those days, the doctor's surgery was open on a Saturday morning and I went straight there. The doctor checked my ear and said I had done a great job of bursting my eardrum, but in time it would heal and no treatment was necessary. On the way home, I was very aware of how extra loud the traffic noise was, and I was getting very distressed. As soon as I got home, I consulted a medical dictionary and looked up burst eardrum, which said, normally heals up, but can sometimes cause tinnitus. I immediately looked up tinnitus, which I had never even heard of before, and the definition was an internal noise which can be heard in the head or ear, but cannot be heard externally. I listened and became aware that I could hear internal noises, which seemed to get louder and louder the more I listened. Then the panic set in. At that time, I was managing director of my own clothing manufacturing company, employing 150 people, comprising of sewing machinists, pressers and cutters, which made for a very noisy environment. As I hadn't slept at the weekend, I couldn't face the thought of going into a noisy factory on the Monday. Over the next couple of days, trapped at home, I also became intolerant of everyday noises, such as the clattering of cups, the scraping of knives and forks, the washing machine, the hoover, etc. The only noise I could stand was the humming of the fridge freezer in the kitchen, where I spent most of my day, as opposed to sitting in the quiet of the living room, where all I could hear was tinnitus. I became so distressed I went back to my GP to advise him about the tinnitus and also asked for sleeping tablets. By this time, I was a wreck and felt like an alien because it was so strange to have this constant, unbearable noise in my head from which I couldn't escape. The doctor prescribed a limited supply of sleeping tablets, told me there was no cure for tinnitus and that I would just have to learn to live with it, but that he would refer me to an ENT consultant. Within 2 weeks, I saw the ENT consultant who said the eardrum was healing up well, that the tinnitus would settle down once the eardrum was healed, and told me to come back in 4 weeks. During all that time, I had still not returned to work and was getting more and more distressed. When I duly returned to the ENT consultant, he was very pleased to tell me that the eardrum had now completely healed and all I had was a fine hairline scar. I told him I still had tinnitus, and he said, "That's a pity. I thought it would have gone by now. It looks like you may be stuck with it permanently." I came out of his office in the depths of despair. So over the next few months, I investigated and tried many alternative therapies, such as acupuncture, reflexology, craniosacral therapy, hypnotherapy, a hypnotist, and homeopathic medicines, spending hundreds of pounds in the process. I must say that some of the relaxation therapies seemed to reduce my tinnitus at the time, but as soon as I got home, the tinnitus shot up again to its horrible high level. Is that mine? My husband Greg was always researching help for me and came across the name of Professor Ross Coles, a retired medical audiologist who was recognised as the leading authority on tinnitus in the UK at that time. Greg phoned him, and on hearing my story, he said, "Please bring your wife down to see me." He explained that although he was retired, he ran an evening clinic once a week at Nottingham University Hospital to help people with tinnitus. He said there would be no charge for the consultation, but if we were able to make a donation, it would go towards hospital funds. Despite not looking forward to a noisy car journey, we made the trip down to Nottingham. On arrival, Ross Coles welcomed us into his clinic and introduced us to his assistant, Jean Baskell, who would carry out various audio tests. On the completion of the test, Jean confirmed I had no hearing loss, but registered a high level of tinnitus. Ross Coles explained that I was, in fact, experiencing two separate conditions, tinnitus and hyperacusis, the latter being a heightened sensitivity to normal sounds. Up to that time, no one in the medical profession had mentioned the word hyperacusis. Ross reassured me that with his help and guidance, my tinnitus would become less intrusive. He explained that because of my high level of stress and anxiety, my tinnitus was very loud. To help reduce this, he was going to provide me with a noise generator, which he would fit into my ear. He advised that I should set the noise level just below that of my tinnitus and slowly reduce the volume over the coming months. This would have the effect of settling the hyperacusis, and the level of tinnitus would reduce thereafter. In addition, he encouraged me to find ways of distracting my brain from listening to the tinnitus, such as going out for walks, especially if it was raining, so that I could hear the rain on the umbrella. He advised me to avoid sitting in a silent environment and encouraged me to engage in any worthwhile activity that required my concentration. He said, when you get back home, get on with your life as normal. Don't let tinnitus hold you back from doing all the things you used to do before tinnitus. The more enjoyment you get from doing the things you like, the less anxious you will become, and tinnitus will recede into the background. He gave me his telephone number and told me to keep in touch with him. I left Ross Coles' clinic with a better understanding of tinnitus and hyperacusis, and for the first time, a sense of relief that there was a way to conquer my fear and tame tinnitus. Within a few weeks of returning home, I joined the Edinburgh support group, which helped me realise that I was not alone, and the meetings helped me keep abreast of the developments in tinnitus management. Within several months, my life returned to normal, the hyperacusis settled and I lost my fear of tinnitus. I still have tinnitus, which I can hear, but I choose not to listen to it anymore. I've told you my story today because I know there will be those among you who are struggling with your tinnitus and will be able to relate to parts of my story. Yes, after 24 years, I am aware that some GPs are still saying there is no cure for tinnitus, but they don't refer patients to tinnitus clinics, which exist in many local hospitals, and completely unaware of tinnitus support groups, of which there are 2 in Scotland, Glasgow and Edinburgh, where people with tinnitus can get support and counselling to help manage tinnitus. The 2 groups in Scotland are Alan's and my group, and between us we cover Scotland. Following my presentation this morning, you will be made aware by others of various ways of managing tinnitus and hyperacusis. I would encourage you to make the most of today's tinnitus and information hearing show, which has been put together courtesy of Alan. Can I just say, Alan, thank you for providing this opportunity today for people to learn all about tinnitus and its management. Thank you for listening to me, and if I can be of any help to you, please seek me out during the course of the day. My next meeting, which is in Edinburgh, will be next Saturday, the 16th of February, and Alan's Glasgow Tinnitus Support Group next meeting will be Tuesday, the 19th of February. So anyone who would like to come to a support group, you're very, very welcome. Thank you. Of course, we have had a few people that have had hyperacusis but no tinnitus, and we do welcome them very much to come into our group. Again, because we have people with tinnitus and hyperacusis, the people who have only hyperacusis themselves can still get support on how to help manage their hyperacusis. So yes, definitely very, very welcome.